I am Tafoni, and I am once again doing a big re-rack of the Eurorack system, and I figured this might be a good time to do another one of those explaining my Eurorack, going through my Eurorack videos, because people always ask me about what I have going on. And now what I have going on has changed, or it's about to change, so yeah, let's go through it. I like to have right angle cables for the permanent stuff where possible. So my thinking for the two IntelliGel cases is I have melody voices up top, drum voices here. The melody voices, if they're complete synthesizer voices, they're on the left, and they can go straight out to the final mix. There's also a mix of all the split up parts, so like piston Honda, filter, fuse, all of these things that can sort of sum up individual stuff that aren't full synthesizer voices. I try and send them into the Yester Versio, which is a delay, and then it can come out into the stereo strip. And so this is my mixer. I'll patch it up here and talk about it, but the idea is that I have a channel for melody and a channel for rhythm, and I can mute and EQ them separately and mix them in. Now, promise I won't get sidetracked with every single thing on this along the way, but I wanted to talk about the stereo strips because I really like them, and I was wondering if anyone else has these and has the issue that I have with both of mine that I found on forum as well, that they don't quite turn all the way off, either with the level or the mute switches. There's just some bleed there, and it's not super noticeable most of the time, but if I'm running compression either immediately after it or at the end of the chain, it just seems like the muting just doesn't work. So I reached out to Bufaco. I found a forum on ModWiggler about it, but yeah, if you have the same issue and if you knew a fix, please let me know, because I'd love to know. Yeah, let's get patching up. So I took my output of the delay, where I like to send all my voices. There's Clementine, and it's going into the left channel, or the left stereo strip. And then what's new and inspired this big re-rack is that I got a stereo sum. So this might change out for a soundstage 2 eventually, but my idea is to do a sum of my stereo strips into here, and then Master Effects down the line, and then finally terminating in Modbap Transit. So if I don't get patching, this is going to take forever. So in the spot here, we're thinking the royal we, I'm thinking Desmodus Versio will be, I can either throw it on the drums or throw it on the melody voice, because I also have a Desmodus at the very end of the final end of chain effects. So the idea here is that I would just be patching this all the time. So that's going to stay out, but the drum mix is always going to be patched in. So I'm going to give it a right angle cable and throw it into here, I think. Now these can sum up to 4 channels, and I don't know if it matters if you put it in the first half or the second half, but just for simplicity's sake, I'm not going to find out. So let's put our second stereo strip in there. And then I'm just going to grab, so what I also have for all my drum voices is a submix, which is the Mega Tang. I know it's like a VCA, but it's great for drums here. I found it actually had a lot of headroom that I had problems with the other drum mixers I had. So what I have are some right angle cables with a little bit of quirks to them for the drum ones. The only thing that's annoying about the Mega Tang is the inputs are on the top. But like I said, I won't get sidetracked with saying a million random factoids. So I'm just gonna patch this up for simplicity. What I did to all these is marked which channel they are in Sharpie. It looks terrible. And with masking tape, it also looks terrible. But it's really useful because I don't have to guess it, which one's which. You can just see on both ends of the cable. So this is the third channel. And these will change every time, but I always need 4 channels. This is channel 2. And I should be using this time to babble on about something that I'm gonna have to slow down for later, but here we are. I guess I could talk about the drum modules quick. Battering ram is the kick. I love it. It's great. It was the Ultra Kick before, and I probably would say the Ultra Kick is a hair better sounding, but the battering ram is a hair easier to use, more flexible, I guess. I love it. It's great. Maniciteritas, not necessarily a drum voice per se, but I find it makes really nice snares. Fracture, just awesome, clappy, but also can be hats, can be lots of things. I've had basically all the WMD snare, or all the WMD drum modules, and Fracture is my favorite. I haven't tried the cymbal one, which I really wish I could. Erica Synth's snare, which is 909 snare modeling, I think. It sounds great. I always struggle with snares, but I find a hard time getting a bad sound out of that one. Drum 2, this is probably gonna move into the other case eventually. Erica drum synth cymbals, this is also just like super techno 909-y cymbal module, which is nice, but someday hopefully WMD makes their cymbal module again. Drums for some samples, and LXR drum. If you have an LXR drum, hold on to it, because I have bought and sold like 4 of these since I got into Eurorack, and I always regret it. So once again, I have it. Megatang we discussed before, but I'm going to show you what I do with it. Now, what I really like about Megatang is a simple effects send. So what I like to do is patch up the autodyne in the effects send, so it's always all the way wet, and then I can determine channel by channel how wet it is by how much I send to it. And it's awesome for compression and for the distortion. It also, the distortion slams, it's awesome. Yeah, there's a sidechain in there too that I neglect to use often as I should, because it is a nice feature, but yeah, there's lots of good sidechaining options with the battering ram that I neglect to use, which I really should, because part of the idea of moving the stereo strip over here is that I can just use the envelope out, and then I'll VCA the level of the other track, so I can sort of like duck the melody every time there's a kick, which is going to be sweet, I hope. Now, sort of like I have out of my Yesterpush CO, I want to do a big long right angle cable to send all of this over, but I don't know where I want it. Okay, spilling everything on my floor. Here we go. We have another pair of blue cables. This must have been from last time I did this, because they are paired together and velcroed together, which is nice. There was a time when I was in this same corner that it's about to go to, so we are once again coming back into the upper left-hand corner. Sorry. Trying to feed this around, one moment. Look at that ugliness. I know this is great creator content, right? You want long form video? Here's your long form video. Okay. So I don't actually, I should have labeled these left and right, but here we are. I guess as long as we're not crossing the streams per se, that's okay. So yeah, out of the submix into that channel too. So ideally, if the mutes were working, I would be able to just chop it all off that way. And then it starts either I can patch in or not the Desmo, and then into the stereo sum, and then starts our end of chain effects. So let's start patching end of chain effects. So I'm going to talk about everything I patch in here as I go. I will try and not take too long because there's lots to be said and I could go on all day about every piece. So yeah, beads, you don't need any introductions to beads, I'm sure, if you're watching this video, but I find granular really difficult and wasn't getting the sounds I was happy with it out of it. I've tried clouds, I've tried Nautilus, I've tried every freaking granular one you can try, and beads is like the only one that's ever really clicked for me. It just works. I tried the Instro one, I tried basically every one, and I like Meloda's Versio was also close, but yeah, beads is great. Let's keep going. So I need to get some patch cords. Again, right angle cords. I did try and color code it at one point, but probably running out. Tim Paleggio, Noise Engineering, awesome. Just the wave folder on that as end of chain distortion. I don't know if I'm lacking EQ and trying to make up for it with that, but it sounds awesome. I just love how it can kind of just warm everything up, I guess. Yeah, a little high pass filter to clean up some of the low end can be nice. Data Bender is next. What can you say about Data Bender that hasn't already been said? It's awesome. I've thought of trying to use it for drums only and stuff, but I don't know, I find like every patch I do just sounds a little better if you have a little Data Bender modulation just going on in the background. Sounds great. Yeah, so much that could be said about it. I won't bore you for now. Maybe a phone. I'm struggling with this one a little bit right now, and it's probably just lack of skill, as is every module that you'll see me with here. But yeah, kind of reverby, delay machine, more skill than I have end of chain at the moment, but sounds really good in like reverby stuff. I think like yeah, super short delay times, just smear it with halo fader, and yeah, sounds awesome. The Overseer by WMD, my god, I wanted this thing before I even got into Eurorack, and it was impossible to find. And then eventually one came up and I got a trade in on it, and it's a DJ style filter, and I don't know how many I tried before it, but it is awesome because it has a bypass button, and by god, do you need a bypass button if you want to do a DJ filter, or else you're like, how are you supposed to slam it without and precisely get back to center? I could never do it. So beauty of WMD Overseer in that regard. Now I am out of patch cables, or right angle ones anyway, so we are going to the straight ones. This is Desmodus Versio, and I didn't really talk about it much before, but I mean, what can you say about Desmodus? It's a Eurorack classic. It sounds absolutely amazing. I don't even know, like, to call it a reverb is kind of weird. They don't call it themselves, and I get that, like, yeah, it generates tail, but it adds a sort of like darkness, not in EQ, but like like cinematically dark almost, if that makes any sense. Like, it sounds like haunting, if that makes any sense, and I really like throwing it at the very end of the chain. Also because if you rock some DJ filter stuff and then you know, cut it off completely even, and then the Desmodus can swell in with some of that gooey, haunt-y stuff. Yeah, Modmap Transit. In my last setup, I had it summing the 2 channels, which with the stereo sum, I have lots of issues with headroom, and I'm hoping that either stereo sum will force me to set my levels properly, or it was an issue with the transit, and I think it's probably the former, but we're about to find out. This also is nice because I can do a bypassing of the end of chain effects, so if I wanted to, I could just like put the end of chain effects in channel 2 and then run a kick straight out into it. So that's the idea. Yeah, so, and the other thing, the whole point of putting it at the end basically for me is it has a TRS headphone out with its own level, so don't need to use HPO. It has some extra stuff. And I was using a 1U module by ALA before, but the one that connects to the jacks on the back of the case, but I was having problems with the channels not being balanced when I was in the studio. Like the left was way quieter than the right for some reason. I don't know. Anyway, hopefully this will cause or get rid of that problem. And now Pam's new workout, I swapped the PAMS Pro for the PAMS new workout just because I think the PAMS Pro stuff I really need in the small case. And if I'm just using this as an LFO basically, then it's fine. Hermod Plus modular, modular brain is what they call it. I can't say enough good things about Hermod Plus other than I struggled with sequencers before, and God, have I tried everyone you can think of, basically. Not everyone, obviously. There's hundreds of Eurorack sequencers, but I tried dozens of them, and Hermod Plus is the one for me, for sure. Yeah, and then this blank space, I'm hoping will be a spot where I can either leave the tripod or I can put some little stuff, maybe the SP44, which is my end of chain recording, or something like that. I don't know. But I think something for the tripod more than anything would be really useful. Yeah, so much space for activities that will probably get filled soon. Buffer malt. One funny thing I think with this one is I bought 2 of them off a guy, and I didn't even, like, he just had the modular grid photo up, and they're different. So this one has it's also IntelliGel, but it has an older panel. I don't know what the deal with that is, but I thought it was funny. DJ Crossfader, another one of those that I had, sold it, regretted it. It's in this position in the row because I have some ideas for, like, partially you can use it as like it's DC coupled, so if I'm not mistaken, and don't quote me on this, I think the at center it's 5 volts, so you can use this as a modulation source manually if you just patch the output. Normally it's for like crossfading 2 stereo sources. There's also an option that I could do. Let's just say I have my 2 plasma voices going and I want to crossfade between them. I can do that. Or you could just do the CV outputs and then maybe your filter is controlled by this. I don't know. But it is awesome. It's, yeah, it's a must-have for me. I love it. There's zero scope. It's in tuning mode right now because it was up here before, but now it doesn't matter. 3 FSU 1U modules that I bought out of a pawn shop. I don't know who's taking their Eurorack to the pawn shop, but I think these are a lot of fun, and touch strip stuff is cool, but I hate giving up like 40 HP for it and all that, you know. Yeah, I know ironically I have a bunch of space there, but I really like these. Both because they have separate gate and CV based on your pressure, so if you wanted to do like resonance, what's a good example? if I hooked one of these up to the steady state gate, and the gate patch the gate out of here into the excite, and then CV into the frequency, so you could like swell, like yeah, I really like that. It's not turning off now, which is kind of concerning, but oh well. Yeah, USB for powering MIDI keyboard if I decide to put that on there. Voices, I haven't gone through the Plasma Voice. 2 of them because they're awesome. I was trading them in, or I was trading in some other stuff for one of them, and they gave me the 15% off coupon, and you get the more with more on trade-in than you do in cash, and it ended up being very much worth it. So I got one in and I tried it out, and thinking sort of like that was a good way to get a lot of value out of the trade-in, and I could resell it if I didn't like it and get that value back, and I absolutely loved it and bought a second one on a second trade-in. They're absolutely great. If you're a modular purist and you don't like self-contained voices, then you'll probably hate these, but if you're a total novice like me, I totally love them. It makes tuning really easy, having 2 of them. Just patch them and go, preset banks. It's really easy to get up and going, even if that's cheating. Peak of Voice, awesome 303 clone, because I sold all my bigger 303 clones, unfortunately, but I do have a 101 clone, which is the A1116. Can't say enough good things about it. It's awesome. It's very cheap for, you know, how expensive Eurorack is, but it's great. Piston Honda, I love wavetables, obviously. It lives up to the hype. How's that? Fuse for smashing them together. I actually really like using it with Piston Honda because you can take the individual oscillators out and smash them together with the fuse. It's really nice. 3 times or 3 VCA by Happy Nerding. It's great. Ikari by Bastel. Also great. Stereo filter, not the easiest thing to find for some reason. Like all the ones I had before mono, but this is awesome because you can take stereo voices and send through. You can take the output of the Yes Reversio and use it sort of EQ-y that way, which I also really liked. Steady state gate, I did a video on it. It's awesome. I love low pass gates. Maybe it's bias of how simple they are to use. I really like just having all the VCA and filtering in one voice, but yeah, it's great. It's worth it. Buffered malt, nothing too exciting. Pony VCO, I really like this one. I figured I need an analog oscillator, but I bought it. It was on some crazy sale for like $150 off, and then decided I wanted to get a second one, and they've like gone way up in price. I don't know what happened with that, but yeah, thinking I'll get a second one someday, and then I can smash 2 oscillators and fuse 2 analog ones. This is Acid Rain Technology chainsaw, and again, it's worth its weight in gold. I love super complex oscillators, and just having a stupid simple super saw in 4 HP. Can't say enough good things about it. FX Aid 1U, I don't need to introduce it to you. It's awesome. This was in my struggle for DJ filters. I was using the FX Aid for that before because it has an awesome DJ filter on there. No button, but it did have a dry wet, which is super nice for DJ filtering because you could just grab one sweep and then kill your filter by just making it totally dry. And it was in stereo, so that's awesome because I had some that I liked, and then it's in mono. So yeah, and then another Xeroscope. So this video's been way too long. Thank you very much, and goodbye. Oh, don't forget about Michael Cera. Like, somebody asked me on TikTok why you have Michael Cera on the wall, and why wouldn't I have Michael Cera on the wall? I don't know. I bought him on Marketplace for $10 in 2020, and yeah, the person said it was real. It has some sort of authentication thing on the back, which I don't know. Michael Cera, if you're out there, please, did you sign this? 2004. I need to know.